But that doesn't mean that she was set down in a Hispanic ghetto in the Bronx and had to deal with that growing up, and that she's come from a working class family.
It implies that in some way she's behind the 8 ball because of that, and it's just not true. And so
I don't know if she's behind the 8 ball, but I don't think she's as privileged as many people who are in Congress right now.
Is that privileged or not? She was a bartender.
Yeah.
You know, so I was a delivery boy.
There's growing buzz that AOC could be preparing a run for the Democratic presidential ticket in 2028. But Maher warns that move might push the party straight into a tough and damaging election loss.
I'm not saying the policies that she espouses, that's the direction, but I'm saying that you have to give the people who are out front speaking for the party, not the people who are.
If you think
she's evolving,
yeah, she's evolving, and as we all are,
and she is moving into She understands the game a little bit more, and if you notice, she is sort of becoming a sort of normal kind of Democrat in many ways.
Yeah,
he didn't hold back at all. His points were sharp, direct, and pretty brutal. So hit that subscribe button now, and let's jump right in.
It's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean, Cory Booker, I know you've worked with him. I like Cory a lot from my home state of New Jersey. Made a speech for 25 hours. Again, just whacking each other off. This is just not what's going to get the job done.
Maher admits AOC can pull in huge crowds, especially when she shares the stage with names like Bernie Sanders or Mamdani. The energy feels electric, the visuals are powerful, and the crowd is loud, proud, and hard to ignore. But if recent elections have shown anything, it's that big crowds don't always turn into real votes when it matters most. That rally energy doesn't always make it all the way to the ballot box. Just look at the last election cycle. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were drawing big numbers, filling venues with excited, roaring audiences that felt like a wave of support. But when the results came in, that energy didn't turn into a win. That's where Maher makes his point clear. Excitement isn't the same as electability. Big crowds get attention, sure, but elections are decided by reach, not just intensity. And that's the tough reality Democrats may be facing.
People love AOC. People love Jasmine Crockett. People love Eric Swalwell and the like. And I think that the Democratic Party should put the people out there who the people want. They should put the politicians out there who the people want, who they're asking for, who are meeting the moment with the same energy that
they're not asking for AOC.
Yes, they are.
The people you party with
No. The people I party with don't like AOC.
Oh, please.
No, they don't at all.
Well, most people don't.
Maher points to a hard reality. AOC may have strong support within Democratic circles, but that appeal fades once you look at the broader electorate. Democrats like her, that's why her rallies are packed, full of energy and excitement, with a real sense of momentum. Step outside that base, though, and the response isn't as warm. According to Maher, the gap comes down to ideology. Many voters see AOC as too far left, tied to policies and messaging that don't always connect with everyday concerns. Critics argue she represents a style of politics rooted in progressive activism, which can turn off moderates and independents. Fair or not, that perception can become a real hurdle on a national stage. Maher's takeaway is simple and direct. Energizing the base matters, but elections are won by reaching the middle.
Let me tell you why I'm saying that. Because because people will vote for AOC and Donald Trump on the same ticket. Because they're authentic. No, because they're authentic.
I don't think that.
Okay.
That Don.
I think you're wrong about that.
What people like about people like Trump and Fetterman is because it's irrelevant to her life.
But you don't know her life.
I know that being a gorgeous woman who I wouldn't even know was Hispanic in a city that has 1 million Hispanics and does not treat them badly.
But that doesn't mean she doesn't struggle. That doesn't mean that she was set down.
It implies it.
Maher also takes aim at what he sees as cracks in AOC's authenticity, focusing on her backstory. He questions the familiar narrative about her bartending to make ends meet, suggesting it may be framed to build a relatable, working-class image. To him, it feels less like a simple account and more like an effort to shape how voters see her. That's where he thinks things start to fall apart. Audiences today are sharper and more skeptical, quick to spot anything that feels staged. The moment voters think someone is playing a role instead of being genuine, the backlash can come fast. Maher's view is direct. Authenticity can't be manufactured, and when it looks forced, it doesn't just miss the mark, it can push people away.
But that doesn't mean that she was set down in a Hispanic ghetto in the Bronx and had to deal with that growing up, and that she's come from a working class family.
It implies that it implies that in some way she's behind the 8 ball because of that, and it's just not true. And so
I don't know if she's behind the 8 ball, but I don't think she's as privileged as many people who are in Congress right now.
Is that privileged or not? She was a bartender.
Yeah.
You know, so I was
So, look, I
I
don't
was a
agree with her
delivery boy.
policies, but I'm saying sometimes, Bill, like, you don't agree with Donald Trump's policies.
No,
but that's what the people want.
Some of them.
Whether you like her or not, I don't like what she did with Amazon in New York, but I think AOC she's a Democratic icon.
Maher seems genuinely caught off guard by Don Lemon's argument because, to him, likability just isn't what decides elections. He pushes back hard on the idea that being well-liked can carry a candidate all the way. In his view, the real question is simpler and more serious. What policies are you offering, and where are you trying to take the country? That's what voters think about when they step into the booth. He points to the last election cycle as an example. Kamala Harris had moments of strong public appeal and drew plenty of positive crowd reactions. But when it counted, there was still uncertainty about where she really stood ideologically. Was she aiming for the center or moving further left? Maher argues that lack of clarity created hesitation. And in politics, hesitation can be the difference between winning and losing.
She's the wrong. If you think that's the direction the country, the Democratic.
I'm not saying the policies that she espouses that's the direction, but I'm saying that you have to give the people who are out front speaking for the party, not the people who are.
If you think
she's evolving,
yeah, she's evolving,
and
as we all are,
and she is moving into
right.
She understands the game a little bit more, and if you notice, she is sort of becoming a sort of normal kind of Democrat in many ways.
Yes.
I think she's evolving.
Okay, great.
She's a very smart tactic. She's very smart.
Let's get behind that.
Maher's core claim is that AOC hasn't really evolved politically. In his view, she remains anchored to the same progressive policies and messaging that helped launch her rise. He argues that while the political landscape has shifted, her approach hasn't expanded enough to attract a broader coalition of voters. That, he says, makes her a risky choice to lead Democrats on a national stage. From his perspective, it's not just about tone, it's about substance. He points to positions on issues like immigration and her alignment with democratic socialist ideas as potential flashpoints in a general election. Critics argue those views sit too far from the center and could alienate moderates and independents. Maher's bottom line is straightforward. Leading a party requires broad appeal, not just energizing the base. And he questions whether AOC can realistically achieve that in a deeply divided political climate.
The Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party. Last election, it was all the gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children.
Maher delivers this criticism in blunt, unmistakable terms. He points to the moment AOC didn't publicly condemn protesters who placed the Palestinian flag over an American one, arguing that her silence spoke volumes. In his view, moments like that aren't just symbolic, they signal priorities and political alignment in a highly charged environment. For Maher, it's not about a single incident. He frames it as part of a broader pattern that raises questions about her stance on national identity and leadership. Critics interpret situations like this as a lack of clear affirmation of American values, and he warns that perception alone can carry real political consequences. In a national race, optics can matter just as much as policy. His takeaway is blunt. Once voters begin to question a candidate's priorities or loyalty, doubt starts to grow, and in politics, that doubt can be enough to derail a campaign.
James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please. We say fetch now.
Interestingly, AOC now appears to be distancing herself from the woke label, even as critics argue the policies and positions associated with it haven't really changed. Maher focuses on that shift. To him, it doesn't look like real political evolution, it looks like a rebrand, dropping a politically charged term while keeping the same ideological core. He points out that not long ago, AOC and her allies used the label openly, even proudly, as part of their identity. Now, as public sentiment has shifted, the word has largely faded from their messaging. Maher sees that as a change in language rather than substance, and in politics, people tend to notice that kind of move. Voters, especially skeptical ones, can interpret it as opportunism rather than authenticity. His broader point is simple. Changing the label doesn't change the perception, and in a national campaign, perception can be decisive.
Every month I see a new poll reporting how much Latinos despise the woke term Latinx. It's about as popular with them as a reboot of Speedy Gonzales. Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid.
Beyond stepping away from woke, AOC also appears to lean into terms like Latinx, even as many in the Latino community push back against it. That tension is exactly what Maher focuses on. To him, it points to a broader pattern, holding on to ideas that don't resonate widely while stepping away from positions that might connect with mainstream voters. Maher's frustration comes from what he sees as a disconnect with everyday people. When a term is being rejected by the very group it's meant to describe, continuing to use it can come across as out of touch rather than inclusive. At the same time, moving away from language that once defined a political identity raises questions about consistency. His critique is sharp. Embracing labels many are rejecting while ignoring broader public sentiment creates a political gap, and closing that gap is no easy task.
That is what's so odd about this time that we're living in. For all the talk about fighting for the soul of America, nobody seems to like it very much. Too many liberals give the impression that to them, America is just a big, ugh. The red, white, and ew. A country that started out bad and will always be bad, founded on an unrelenting history of sucking and unable to change. But we have changed a lot. Democrat Cori Bush tweeted, "This land is stolen land and black people still aren't free." And this was on the 4th of July. Really? Not that I give a shit about the 4th of July. I've never been a rah-rah guy. But I am a perspective guy. And that's what too much of the left has lost, perspective.
At its core, Maher's critique of AOC comes down to one word: electability. He acknowledges her energy, her ability to fill arenas, and her strong support within the Democratic base, but questions whether any of that translates into national appeal. From concerns about ideological rigidity to questions about authenticity and shifting political language, Maher paints a picture of a candidate who energizes supporters but struggles to win over skeptics. His point is straightforward. Elections aren't decided by enthusiasm alone or by polished messaging and rebranded narratives. They're won through clarity, consistency, and the ability to connect with voters across the political spectrum. When a candidate's stance feels unclear, or there's a gap between words and actions, doubt starts to build. And in politics, doubt can be costly. Maher's bottom line is simple. Without expanding beyond her base and addressing these perception challenges, AOC risks remaining a powerful voice, but not necessarily a winning candidate.